Hey everybody, it's your Uncle Bear. So, another tip about driving up north during the winter time. Right around the time of that first cold snap, you start transitioning your reefer fuel into number one. Okay? You go ahead and fill it with number one when you're up north. Go south. Let it run low until you get back home, and then fill it up with number one again. It would be preferable to me to just go ahead and fill it with number one while I'm down south too during the winter time. That way I don't have to worry at all. Number one fuel for you newer drivers, it doesn't gel. That's why we put it in during the winter time. It doesn't gel up on you. You don't have to put additives with it or anything. You put it into that reefer tank. You want at least a 60-40 ratio of number one and number two in there. The reason being, number two has paraffin wax in it, and that's what gels, and it'll clog up your fuel filter, and yeah, it's shit. So anyway, you want a 60-40 ratio of number one and number two. If you can't find number one, which it's harder, I don't know why, but it's hard to find places that sell number one. Several of the Quick Trip with the K up in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, South Dakota, several of those I've found have number one fuel. So yeah, if you're in those areas, also the Cubbies, which are Cenex stations, there's a lot of small town Cenex stations, just regular Cenex that aren't Cubbies, have number one also. So, like I say, it's harder and harder to find number one fuel. I do not have fuel heaters on my truck either, so I use number one in my fuel tank on my tractor also. But yeah, you do that. I have never gelled up. I shouldn't say that. I had a mechanic. I used to have a truck that had a fuel heater on it back in the early 90s. And the dumbass mechanic that was working on it, there were two valves that had to be turned on for this fuel heater to work. And for whatever reason, the dumbass mechanic that was working on it shut one of them off. He wasn't working on anything having to do with it or anything. I think he was just being a dick. But anyway, it was it was in 1995. I remember because we had the entire Midwest, by the way, had 3 solid weeks of minus 20 to minus 25 degree temperatures, not wind chill, temperature. And yeah, I went up to Montevideo, Minnesota, and picked up a load. And when I pulled out of the dock, I gelled up. So I spun off the fuel filter, grabbed another fuel filter, and filled it with Power Service. Spun it back on there to get me to the truck stop. Well, the truck stop was out of number one. They'd run out. So anyway, luckily there was another driver there with me, same company I was with, and he pointed out that valve was off. Opened that back up, and I never had another problem with it. But like I say, if you can't get number one, then get either some Power Service and follow the directions closely, because you can put too much of the Power Service in. I've heard it will actually burn holes in your pistons if you put too much. I personally use House lubricator, and it works pretty good, and you don't have to really worry that much about putting too much in, because it lubricates your engine also. But yeah, it's an anti-gel, and I usually put about a quart, half of a 64 ounce bottle in each tank, and that usually does pretty good. If it gets down below like minus 5, minus 10, I will put a whole bottle into each tank. But there again, it has directions on it, so follow those directions. It tells you how many gallons it treats. And when you're putting that in, you want to put it in before you fuel. That way, when you fuel, it mixes it all in there with your fuel. So yeah, like I say, as far as the reefer goes, and there again, you can use the Howes lubricator in your reefer tank too. Drop enough in there to treat however many gallons your reefer tank is. I know some of these companies have these little 25-gallon, 20-gallon reefer tanks on them. I don't know what the point of that is. I always have a 50-gallon tank. That way I don't have to worry about nothing. But anyways, yeah. That's all I got for today, kids. Don't end up on the side of the road. It's no fun. So I've heard. I've never ended up there. Knock on wood. Or formaldehyde. Knock on formaldehyde? What the hell is that? Embalming fluid? Formica. I meant formica. Not formaldehyde. Formica. I don't know. I'm almost empty, so talk to you guys later. Be safe.